Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the Spanish tragedy and we get to hear from this Spanish general today in Act 1, Scene 2. In Act 1, Scene 1, it was mostly a very long monologue by the ghost of Don Andrea letting us know how he was killed or that he was killed, and then his journey into the afterlife, which has brought him to where he is now, which is hanging out with the personification of revenge, and they're going to watch the person who killed Don Andrea, being Balthazar, the Prince of Portugal. They're going to watch him get killed by Don Andrea's former lover, a woman named Belle Imperia. So that's all of that. And the killing, it wasn't just a random killing, it was a killing in a war. So keep that in mind. But anyway, Act 1, Scene 2, we start off, it's a couple days sort of after the war has died down, this war between Spain and Portugal. And we're in Spain, we've got the Spanish king there, we've got the Spanish general there, we've got a bunch of other sort of random people there, and the king is like, so how did everything go? And the general's like, we won. And the king's like, really? We won? That's great. And so like Portugal like cedes to us, they're going to pay us tribute and everything. And the general's like, yep, we are, or they are. And the king's like, but like how did we win this battle? And one of the other guys says in Latin, basically like, by the grace of God we won. And the king's like, okay, yeah, that's great, but no, general, tell us how we actually won the war. Give us an account of it. So the general, buckle up, this is a long one, the general says, where Spain and Portugal do jointly knit their frontiers, leaning on each other's bound, there met our armies in their proud array, both furnished well, both full of hope and fear, both menacing alike with daring shows, both vaunting sundry colours of device, both cheerly sounding trumpets and drums and fife, both raising dreadful clamours to the sky that valleys, hills, and rivers made rebound, and heaven itself was frighted with the sound. Our battles both were pitched in squadron form, each corner strongly fenced with wings of shot. But ere we joined and came to push of pike, I brought a squadron of our readiest shot from out our rearward to begin the fight. They brought another wing to encounter us. Meanwhile, our ordnance played on either side, and captains strove to have their valors tried. Don Pedro, their chief horseman's colonel, did with his cornet bravely make attempt to break the order of our battle ranks. But Don Rogero, worthy man of war, marched forth against him with our musketeers and stopped the malice of his fell approach. While they maintain hot skirmish to and fro, both battles join and fall to handy blows, their violent shot resembling the ocean's rage when, roaring loud and with a swelling tide, it beats upon the rampiers of huge rocks and gapes to swallow neighbor-bounding lands. Now, while Bellona rages here and there, thick storms of bullets ran like winter's hail, and shivered lances dark the troubled air. Pide pesset cuspide cuspis, arma sonant armis, vir peticu viro. On every side drop captains to the ground, and soldiers, some ill-maimed, some slain outright. Here falls a body sundered from his head. There legs and arms lie bleeding on the grass, mingled with weapons and unbowled steeds that scattering o'erspread the purple plain. In all this turmoil, 3 long hours and more, the victory to neither part inclined, till Don Andrea, with his brave lanciers, in their main battle made so great a breach that half dismayed the multitude retired. But Balthazar, the Portugal's young prince, brought rescue and encouraged them to stay. Here hence the fight was eagerly renewed, and in that conflict was Andrea slain. Brave man at arms, but weak to Balthazar. Yet while the prince, insulting over him, breathed out proud vaunts sounding to our reproach, friendship and hardy valor joined in one, pricked forth Horatio, our knight marshal's son, to challenge forth that prince in single fight. Not long between these twain the fight endured, but straight the prince was beaten from his horse and forced to yield him prisoner to his foe. When he was taken, all the rest they fled, and our carbines pursued them to the death, till Phoebus, waving to the western deep, our trumpeters were charged to sound retreat. So it's a story of the battle between the Spanish and the Portuguese. And basically, he starts out by saying that both sides were pretty evenly matched, but then Don Pedro from the Portuguese side looked like he was going to make some headway, but Don Rogero from the Spanish side was able to stop that off. And this sort of back and forth battle between the two sides was going on for 3 hours until finally Don Andrea was able to make some headway, and it looked like he was going to win, like he was making enough headway that the Portuguese were retreating. But then Balthazar came in, was able to encourage the Portuguese to not retreat, and Balthazar and Don Andrea got in it, and Balthazar killed Don Andrea. And while he was sort of boasting over that, Horatio came in and challenged Balthazar to a one-on-one battle, which Horatio basically won, but without killing Balthazar. He knocked him off his horse, he won. Balthazar basically had to surrender. So Balthazar has been taken prisoner. The rest of the army, ran away because Balthazar was taken. A lot of the Spanish pursued and killed a lot of them, but Balthazar is now the prisoner, and Don Andrea is dead. So that's basically the telling of this particular war story, and it's fairly gruesome. I mean, he talks about seeing decapitated bodies and dismembered limbs strewn all over the field, and he's even talking about disemboweled horses whose guts are staining the fields purple. There's some pretty gruesome imagery in this particular monologue, but they asked to hear what the war was like, and that's what war is like. It's pretty gruesome. But at the end of the telling of this story, the king is like, very good job, here's a medal for you. You're sure that the Portuguese are surrendering? And the general is like, yep, here is a letter signed by the Portuguese viceroy saying that we've reached this truce. It's a temporary truce, but at least it's a truce for the time being. And the king is like, great, sounds really good. And then some trumpets sound as the army is starting to return, and they see Lorenzo and Horatio accompanying the prisoner Balthazar, into the Spanish lands, into the Spanish camp or court or whatever, so that he can be taken prisoner. And the king is like, who is that's accompanying the prisoner? And Hieronimo, very interesting name, is like, well, that's my son, and I'm very proud of him. I've been proud of him since he was born, but I've never been quite so proud of him as I am today, looking at him leading this prisoner of war in to see his fate, to meet his fate. And the king is going to have some things to say, but we will hear those in tomorrow's monologue. So I will see you then for that. Mwah.